24 months ago, my agency was doing maybe 40,000 a month, and I still personally managed every single cold email campaign. I was drowning in manual work, scraping leads, writing out campaign strategies, and constantly fighting deliverability. Today, across the Beanstalk business, we're now consistently hitting $300,000 months. We've sent over 30 million cold emails, and we booked several hundred qualified meetings every single month for our clients. Now, what's actually helped this workflow so much? There's really 4 tools that completely transformed how we operate. Now, this isn't going to be these typical AI automations that will change everything that you see hyped up on X. There's no crazy diagrams or N8N workflows. These are just specific tools that solved real bottlenecks for us in this business and allowed us to scale up without having to hire an army of VAs to do things manually. Now, the best part is most agencies have no idea how to use them like this. The first problem we had to solve is really the most fundamental: bad data. Now, I've tried every tool there is. The first tool that's really solved this for us is Lead Magic. It fixed what was quietly killing our campaigns. If you're just using raw data from a big provider like Apollo, you're still going to get bounce rates of 4 or 5%. Sometimes it's much higher than that. Now, we still use Apollo. It's still a great, inexpensive solution with a ton of bulk contact data, but we supplement our Apollo subscription with Lead Magic. And we found it's the perfect way to uncover more emails and still ensure that our lists are pristine. But there's another key differentiator. Lead Magic won't give you the technically valid emails for people that have moved on to other jobs. And many other tools do this to give you bigger lists, but you end up in that awkward situation where, yeah, the email doesn't bounce, but you'll get a reply back saying, hey, Cindy hasn't worked here for 6 months. So it cleans our data, it stops bounces before they happen, and it's going to build a reliable foundation for everything else that we do. Now the data's clean. We need to figure out a smart way to actually approach these prospects. Now, this is where most people turn directly to a ChatGPT, maybe a Claude, but to be honest, it's a rookie move financially and strategically. Our second tool and my secret weapon for intelligence is OpenRouter. Here's the deal with OpenRouter. If you're using AI directly within a platform like Clay, you're paying for those credits and they're putting a markup on top of it, so you're going to get absolutely ripped on price. OpenRouter gets you out of that. It's a single API that gives you access to almost any model you'd ever want. Everything from DeepSeek to Claude to Grok. They're all there. You don't have to have a separate $20 subscription to every single tool. You don't have to have 15 browser tabs open. You get an enterprise grade membership to basically everything. Now, to give you an idea of how cost efficient it is, I put $250 of credit into my OpenRouter account over 5 months ago, and I still have $215 left. So it's incredibly cheap. Now, that's all great, but the real value is in the strategy. So we use it to run deep multi-layered research, and we use the best fit model for every different piece of the process. So we'll use a fast model like a Claude Sonnet to maybe scrape, summarize a company's press releases and reviews. It also can be quite good with writing if you're doing any sort of content. And then we'll feed any of that summary information into a more powerful reasoning model. Right now, I like Gemini 2.5 Pro for this, and I'll ask those critical questions. Hey, based on this data, what is their biggest strategic threat? What's the core problem they're trying to solve this quarter? If we're doing this for a client, then we're just going to pose that question around the ICP for that client, right? Hey, what is the ICP for this client based on their website? Why do they sell to them? What is the value that those prospects are deriving from this? And then that output is going to give us some deep strategic insight that is going to form the entire foundation for a campaign angle. Okay, so you've got your target, you've got verified data, and you've got the beginning of a killer angle. But none of that matters if you send all those emails and they land in spam. So this leads me to the third tool. It's actually something we built ourselves. It's called Scaled Mail. Now, Scaled Mail doesn't really have AI particularly at its core. We really built it around deliverability. I wanted personally an internal process that felt like a SaaS product. If you've ever done these highly manual workflows with setting up hundreds of email inboxes, domains, all I ever wanted when I'd done that a few thousand times was a point and click solution that was really easy to implement. Now, Scaled Mail is that finished product. We've got almost 700 happy customers. We're growing every day. We offer weekly deliverability testing with an easy reporting upgrade. So even things like proactively letting you know you're running into issues with domains, so you don't have to wait around for bad metrics on a campaign to figure out that there's something wrong. And the best part about all of this is we've actually been able to drop our own infrastructure costs dramatically by having this tool available to us, and we've been able to pass those savings on to clients as well, many of whom are agencies doing this business just like us, and they realize that offloading this monotonous manual work lets them focus more time on the things that actually matter to deliver results. All right, this brings us to the final tool, the command center that really brings all of this together for us, Clay.com. I saved this for last because Clay is the platform where we're going to orchestrate that multi-step assembly line for creating hyper-personalized outreach at scale. So I'm going to walk you through an example table that we would use step by step. In this case, we're starting with an initial list of contacts from our Apollo subscription. Now, we're going to immediately start enriching that list against LeadMagic contact info that Apollo might have missed. And that's really this column here. If we already have an email, then it's not necessarily checking. Then for any that weren't valid via the LeadMagic check or didn't have an email in the first place, we're going to start running this through a waterfall. In this case, we're going to hit both ICPs, LeadMagic, and some other tools if for whatever reason we're not able to surface a valid email from our initial Apollo or LeadMagic subscriptions. You'll see that here. There's a bunch of different providers that we're going to hit here, and we're always going to have to still do a validation on the back end just to make sure they're not giving us a garbage email. So that's what you're looking at here. Now, the next step would be using Clay's HTTP API module, which looks like this. You can just add an enrichment HTTP API, and you can plug in any sort of API connection that you might have. In our case, we use OpenRouter for this quite a lot. We can send it the company's website, body text, or just a summary that we've already pulled and created in a column, and have it create a contextual summary of what this company actually does. Then you can take that summary and ask OpenRouter to go a little bit deeper. Hey, how can we tailor the angle that we initially came up with when we were doing our company research stage? How can we tailor it to this specific contact, this specific company, so that that value proposition really pops for the individual that we're reaching out to? Well, I'm going to show you a little cleanup step that we'll actually do as well here. If I scroll over, you'll see this company normalization column. So what we're doing here is just asking AI to strip out any sort of LLC, Inc., any sort of awkward language that looks like it came from a database, because again, we want to look as human as possible to the recipient, even though we're doing this at scale. Now, for this, the core of the ICP mirror play, we're taking that summary information that we've gathered already about this particular company. We're going to ask it one critical question, which is, what is this company's ideal customer profile? So this Clayagent right here, which is just a little agent that goes out to a website, is tasked with going to the website, reading everything that the company does, or again, pointing it at that summary we've already pulled and asking, what is this company's ideal customer profile? And that you can see that popping back here. And what we're doing in this case, because this is actually outreach for us, we sell outbound. So if someone wants to work with us, we want to say, hey, I know your ICP, and I know your ICP that wants your service or wants your product. We can go find those people for you. And so we can end up, in this case, with a little snippet that we can put in our email saying, hey, if I can get you in front of tolling agencies looking for automated license plate recognition services, or hey, if I could get you in front of law enforcement agencies that are looking for advanced vehicle imaging, would that be of interest to you? And we're not talking about ourselves here. We're talking about their customer. So this entire, in this case, 9-step research and personalization engine is going to run row by row across all of these thousands of prospects at once, all within one Clay table. All right, this brings me to the final tool, which I've got on screen here. And that's the command center that really brings all of this together, Clay.com. Now, I saved this for last because a lot of these different tools actually plug into Clay. You have a multi-step assembly line for creating hyper-personalized outreach at scale. So in this case, we're starting with an initial list of contacts from our Apollo subscription. We've enriched that list. We've validated the emails on the left-hand side to see which ones are valid or invalid. And then we're going to hit LeadMagic API again from Clay to find the missing work emails. So you can see that here. And then for any that are still missing, we're going to run it through a giant waterfall of different email contact data providers to see if we can surface those missing contacts and really maximize this list. The next step, now you could use OpenRouter for this. You could use Clayagent, which is Clay using an AI agent to go out and perform actions on the web. And what we're going to want to do is pull back a summary, a description of what this company, each company does. So it's got one job, read the body text or read a description from a database, bring back a contextual summary of what the company business activities are. And then we can get personal. We can actually do another column, an HTTP API column out to OpenRouter, if that's what we want to use as our AI tool of choice, and maybe ask it, okay, how would you tailor our campaign angle to this particular company? And that output could eventually become a snippet that ends up in your email, so that you're not just sending a generic outreach to a pizza company and a security camera company. You're able to tailor what the outreach is for each recipient. And in this case, what we're doing as a version of that is we're doing a two-step process here. We're sending a Claygen out to go read about the company and ask what is the company's ideal customer profile. And then we're tying that back to what this company sells. In our case, we sell marketing and sales services to companies. And so the most attractive value proposition I can bring to people is to say, I can get you in front of your ICP, especially the ones that are actually looking for your solution right now. So in this case, you can see some examples here. I can go to this particular row or prospect and say, hey, I can get you in front of law enforcement agencies that are looking for your advanced vehicle imaging solutions. And you can see the next one down. We can get you in front of campground operators that are looking for integrated, integrated access control solutions. And so each one of these is going to be really dialed into their specific use case. This works a lot better than sending mass templates out through MailChimp or something like that. It's going to sneak through those spam filters, and it's actually going to be relevant to the recipient, and they're going to respond at a much higher rate. So Clay is just great for building these advanced workflows in an easy to use spreadsheet UI. Now, here's what's crazy about these 4 tools. Individually, they make us a lot more efficient, but together, you get a real compound effect that at least transformed our business. So going back through, we've got Lead Magic, guaranteeing our data's clean. You've got OpenRouter. Think of it as your AI brain to find the right strategic angle. Scaled Mail, building that unbreakable sending foundation. And then Clay, orchestrating everything into a scalable outreach engine. The result is we were able to go from just being able to manage maybe 5 to 10 campaigns at once to now we're running 50 plus campaigns simultaneously. We still have humans in the loop because these tools don't replace human expertise. They just amplify what we're able to achieve. We're still doing strategy. We're still building relationships. We're still solving complex problems with human brain power. We're just able to do it at 10x the scale. Now, there's one category that I left out of this video, which is cold email sequencers. I'm going to do a separate video where we break down all the top cold email sequencers and what we like about each one. But for full transparency, at Beanstalk right now, we use Email Bison, Plus5 AI, and SmartLead AI. All great options. And you're probably thinking that sounds really expensive and complicated. That's true. You do not need to have all 3 like we do. They're all super accessible and easy to get started with. So if you want to try them for yourself, I put links to every tool mentioned in the description below, and using them really helps out our partners and the channel.